featuring Will Gavin and Master Tess Fassian.
And a squad of big-name contributors.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Hello and welcome to the S Word, sponsored by Calci. I'm Will Gavin, live in London. And yes, it was a late night last night for us over here in the UK, but England are through to the quarterfinals of the World Cup, overcoming all of the odds to beat Mexico. So, if my eyes are a little smaller this morning, if the bags are a little more prominent, I apologise, but don't worry, it's still going to be a great show. We've also got to talk about Brazil out of the tournament. Their World Cup woes continue as they get beaten by a Norway side that nobody wants to face at this point, and it turns out are going to be England's next opponents. Plus, the USMNT. I mean, their chance to win 2 knockout games at the same tournament for the first time in their history and make their way through to the quarterfinals, and they face Belgium tonight. And they'll be doing that with Fowler and Balogun available to start for them. We assume starting for them up front tonight, so we'll break down all of that drama from last night as well. The great Tim Vickery will be with us to talk Brazil. Christina Unkel will be with us. So much to get into with her from the 2 games last night and that big decision. With heartbreak for El Tricolor, Carlos Yustis will join us to give the Mexicans' perspective. The brilliant Telemundo host, plus Adrian Durham and Nate Bukaty also here to build up to that huge game tonight for the USMNT. This is the S Word, sponsored by Calci. Let's get some. I'm Will Gavin, and it's all me. It's definitely not. I'm really hoping it's not all me today, but it was a huge night of World Cup action last night. It had absolutely everything, and this is how you heard it live on talkSPORT.
Well, at a time when you're normally in the land of Nod, welcome back to the scene of the hand of God.
Start spreading the news. This could be the tie of the round.
Stands up a ball and a diving header is in. And England silence the Azteca with Jude Bellingham on the score sheet.
That's really a big one. That's an extraordinary night.
And he scored again. It's 2 in a minute. Jude Bellingham on the double.
Bouncing up and down on his line. A penalty for Brazil. Big, deep breath. Here he goes, stuttered run up, right-footed, saved! Turned away to his left-hand side!
Right-footed volley in, and Mexico are back in it. Quinolia, he's off, once are dismissed. And England's right-back curse continues.
Sweating towards Haaland! That is the moment he was waiting for! Haaland winning the battle with Gabriel. Back to Erling Haaland, left-footed shot! He's picked up the corner! You beauty!
Harry, your country needs you here. You've got to put this away. Right footed, he has!
4 years of hurt for Brazil. The World Cup drought is going to continue.
England have won! They've laid bare the curse of the Azteca. They've now got Norway in Miami in the quarterfinals.
That was how you heard it last night live on talkSPORT. What a huge night of action, and for the first time today, live with you on the East Coast around 8 a.m. He's out on the West Coast. He's in Seattle as the USMNT face Belgium tonight. Also live on talkSPORT, of course. The wonderful Master Tess Fassian is in the house, brother. You are looking well. You are looking... honestly, that top looks clean. You look fresh. Considering it's like 5 in the morning there. It's sensational from you.
I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted at what happened. I cannot believe that England pulled it off and found a way.
Not everyone can win in the Azteca, mate. Not everyone can win in the Azteca. just a third competitive loss there for Mexico in 90 games.
I can't believe it, Will. How did England pull it off? I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it.
From my perspective, what's kind of astonishing about last night is, like, I would have obviously happily taken a really grotty, ground it out 1-0 win. And I thought they set up to start that game absolutely perfectly. That first 20, 25 minutes, we knew they couldn't concede early. That would be an absolute death knell for them. They defended well. They held possession. They frustrated Mexico. Listen, this whole thing, the Azteca in the altitude, the unbelievable crowd there last night, particularly after the hour delay as well. It was so loud in there. It was just unbelievable. Like, to hear, there were good pockets of England fans, and they were just drowned out by these passionate, like, absolute, just possessed Mexican fans who were just so desperate to see their team win. And they were the main character. They were the protagonist. If they'd won that game, I think the regular footballing world would be heralding a wonderful, wonderful achievement today. But what England did, with maybe not the greatest all-round performance, is go in there against all those odds, prove they can win in different ways. And listen, when Jude Bellingham put them 2-0 up, and it was 2:35 in the morning here, and, you know, jaws were on the floor. We barely celebrated that second goal because we couldn't believe what we were seeing. It got a lot tenser over the next hour or so, a lot tenser. But yeah, I'm incredibly proud of what they achieved last night. They showed heart, they showed grit, they showed will. They played good football at times as well. Tuchel, I think, pretty much nailed it in the second half, particularly when going down to 10 men. Yes, they had to bring 4 centre-backs on to make that work, but he showed that he knows how to grind out those games. And honestly, on to Norway, on to Miami is an astonishing thing to be saying now, considering how I felt 24 hours ago. But come on, boys. Absolutely brilliant.
That's the most impressive one of this tournament. To go into Stadium Azteca knowing the stakes, knowing the fans are going to be riled up, knowing what was on the line, knowing the difficulty of beating Mexico at home, for England to pull that off, to go up 2-0, in the first half. I can't say enough about this England side being able to pull that off, down a man. And also, as you mentioned, Thomas Tuchel's tactical changes, in-game management, in-game adjustment. That's why you bring him on. Will, that is why you bring in Thomas Tuchel to manage games and situations. He does not win that game. He doesn't win that game.
He did wonderful things for the England team. He was a healing Band-Aid at a time that we desperately needed it, but he doesn't win that game of football.
No.
Honestly. And listen, you said it on our chat last night, and I know you were fishing, you were out there, like, I'm in a group with a bunch of English people, I know what I'm doing here, I'm going to try and reel in a big one. Like, my phone was not looked at until full time.
The phone was not looked at by a lot of English people in the group chat.
from their penalty through to the end of the game, that 32 minutes was as tense as I've ever felt in my life. And in theory, I hate the fact that, you know, we just went 10 behind the ball, we are just every opportunity clearing it long, it's ending up at the feet of their goalkeeper and they're breaking and attacking again. It's tough to watch. But Dan Burn, absolutely sensational off the bench. In 15 minutes, he had 6 clearances, he had 2 blocks, and he passed the ball out from the back on 2 separate occasions successfully as well. Just an unreal performance coming off. Ezri Konsa having to move to right back in that 5 and handle everything that Quinones offered, and then the substitutes as well, I thought was brilliant last night. Gilberto Moura, who I heaped praised on, and rightly so, was kept so quiet by them, particularly in that second half before he came off. And you're astonished that they've managed to achieve all that. Like, you really look at it, we've conceded from a free kick, which it's an unbelievable delivery. You could argue England could have done better, but it's an unbelievable finish as well. And you're undone by a penalty, which, you know, you could argue that in the days of pre-VAR, you'd very, very rarely see that given. I totally understand why it was. I'm sure Christina will explain it to us later, but it's one of those ones that you're baying for if it's your team, but if it's against you, you're like, oh, it feels so soft. And yet, in that 32 minutes after their penalty, when they made those defensive changes and they had all that pressure and all that possession, one shot on target. And it was all of the cliches, the hearts of a lion, the Englishmen gritting in and digging deep and doing what they needed to do. And it's a very different way to win football games, but I had a good time last night, even if I have no fingernails left this morning.
You had to adjust with the circumstances and the situation. And again, I think England did that beautifully. I think Thomas Tuchel did that beautifully. And I think for all the people that were even doubting for Jude Bellingham to start on this England side, it seems so foolish now. It seems so foolish. We were having a discussion about the significance of Jude Bellingham and whether he should start on this team or not. His presence, his ability to make big plays, to show up in big moments, was on display at Stadium Azteca once again. Mm-hmm. Like, you do not win this game if Jude is not starting in your starting 11, period. He showed up, altitude or not, presence in terms of the intensity or not. This man is truly one of the best, the second best player on this team without question. And
23
outside of Harry
old.
Kane, like it is mind-boggling what Jude Bellingham was able to accomplish in Mexico against this side, and giving England literally the boost of confidence, the taking the pressure off the players and let them know, I got you, putting the burden on himself. Like, that's what we've seen Jude do time and time again throughout his very young career. And for him to do that at Stadio Azteca, I thought that was one of the most brilliant performances we're going to see in this tournament, period.
I
can't believe it.
Yeah, I'm still...
I genuinely can't believe it. I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked at the fact that England advanced facing Mexico in Stadio Azteca. Like, I don't know... My mind is still needing another 24 hours to process this, because it truly was
the only thing it now does,
unbelievable outcome.
The only thing it now does for us England fans is you look and you go, look, no one's going to be writing off Norway. They were excellent against Brazil last night in a way that I think we hadn't seen them be in this tournament so far. Like, yes, it was a bit of a smash and grab second half win, and yes, they had to ride their luck at times and the penalty and everything else, but they were brilliant. We'll talk more about that game in a moment, but they were brilliant, and they deserve to be in that quarter-final. No one is writing them off right now, but when you see that performance and you go, when I've watched the other games this tournament, and I go, could we beat Norway in Miami? Absolutely, we could beat Norway in Miami. Could we keep Lionel Messi quiet in Atlanta if that's what it ends up being? I believe we can. And if we then through to the final, be it the French, be it the Yanks, be it the Spanish, whoever it ends up being in that final, suddenly I am believing with heart and soul that I have not believed before, Master Tesfazian, and I think it's coming home. I believe it's coming home. And that is mind-blowing to me, that I actually truly believe that. And I'm not just saying it for theatrics, and I'm not just saying it to get clicks and likes. I'm just saying it because in my heart and soul, having only had 45 minutes sleep on a night bus last night on my way back home from producer Sam's house, that I actually believe. God, it's weird to say it out loud. I think I've got a stomachache. Yeah.
Say it, Will. Say it. You believe what?
I believe that England will win the World Cup. Don't get me wrong, right? France have been amazing.
No outliers. No outliers. You just beat Mexico at Stadio Azteca. As someone that was rooting on your downfall,
you really
even
were.
Deny it. I can't deny it. If you want to feel like England's going to win this, I have no rebuttal. That's how impressive a performance this was. I literally have no rebuttal. If every English fan was to come in our comments and say, it's coming home, Yank, I have nothing to say. I literally have nothing to say. This was the most impressive performance of this tournament. And if English fans want to feel like it's coming home, who am I to say otherwise? Because you are well within your right. After that performance, after that display, after that fight, that toughness, that battling adversity, all these strange variables that popped up in Stadio Azteca, whether it was the delay, whether it was the red card, whether it was the crowd, whether it was the atmosphere, whether it was the VAR penalty, all of these moments, to overcome all of that and still come out on top within 90 minutes. This didn't go to extras. This didn't go to penalties. You beat Mexico at Stadio Azteca in 90 minutes.
Just a reminder, by the way, if you are watching
us... I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say. I literally have nothing to say. Unfortunately, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I love this from you. This is wonderful, wonderful work. I'm going to put this on because I can't handle seeing my eyes anymore. Listen, if you are watching us on the talkSPORT YouTube channel or over at talkSPORT S Word, please join us over at the S Word. You can subscribe there. This show, if you've just joined us for the first time, so there's a lot of people watching over on talkSPORT. We are here every single day of the World Cup. We're branching the gap between the US and the UK, doing a talkSPORT show for our American market, our American friends. So of course, we'll be talking America. We'll be talking following Balogun coming up. We'll be talking about all of that. The great Nate Bukaty is going to be joining the show.
Well, what happened to Balogun?
I'm so excited to talk about it with you. Like, genuinely, I'm like, let's go. But we need to give props to Norway, and we need to discuss Brazil as well. 100%. Because
100%.
So last night, the great Ollie Hunter, who works on this show, who's like, he worked my first ever talkSPORT shift with him in 2012. A talkSPORT legend. He is emigrating to Brazil today. He is on his flight as we speak right now.
I didn't know it was today.
We last night Master, I cannot tell you how emotional it got last night after the game, and we were outside and I was waiting for my Uber, and anyway, we did 15 years of being very close friends. It was a lovely moment, but we went to watch it at a Brazilian butcher's in Epsom last night, where they'd set out a bunch of tables and chairs, where they put a huge TV on the wall, and there were maybe close to probably 80, 90 Brazilian fans in there, plus me and Ollie randomly in the corner. Ollie was wearing his Seleção, his little 2002 kit that he's got.
Of course.
So, he was there and he was representing. The caipirinhas were flowing. The meat platters were in great abundance. The picanha was there, and I was having an experience that I really don't felt I've been able to experience this World Cup outside of England games, and I really, really loved the whole thing. But the gut punch of that last 20 minutes to those Brazilians in that room and to the Brazilians around world football. Carlo Ancelotti says he wants to stay on, but just this team needs to get out of its own way. It's basically been ever since its home tournament. It's just not been able to achieve anything like the level you would expect from the talent they've got and from their history and from what Brazil represents.
Yeah, honestly, the talent was not good enough, as we've talked about throughout this entirety of the show, that this Brazilian side was not strong enough. But for Carlo Ancelotti, you've got a penalty a chance to go up 1-0 in the first half, and you go with Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah,
that is not going to sit well with me. When Vinicius Jr. has been in unbelievable form, he has been the talisman for this team. He has been guiding this Brazilian side. He has been literally taking the baton from Neymar's hand throughout this entire tournament. And to have Bruno Guimaraes going up, taking a penalty, and the man looks so scared. He was taking more deep breaths than me and you are right now through this segment.
The double stutter run. Like, I filmed it. You can see it on my Instagram. I filmed it last night in the thing, expecting it to be a goal and seeing the party. And when he did the double stutter, the anger from the Brazilians I was with, just like, what on earth? Just step up and bury it, man.
But even before that, he looked so nervous before that. He looked so nervous. He was taking so many deep breaths. I'm like, why? Again, and Carlo explained afterwards, he had, obviously a list of penalty takers that he has. I think it's like Rafinha, the Neymar, the Bruno Guimaraes, and there's someone in there that I'm missing. But somehow Vinicius Jr. is not in the top 4 of pen takers for this Brazilian side. That part I did not understand. If you have Vinicius Jr. going up, taking this penalty, taking at the spot, Brazil's up 1-0, and at that point the whole game changes. The game management changes completely. But the simple fact that you had Bruno Guimaraes going up to the spot, taking this penalty, and obviously it was saved, that changed the entire complexity of this match, where Norway was able to continue doing what they were doing, and obviously eventually Erling Haaland gets his brace, got the best of Gabriel on both goals, and Brazil's going home. Like that, I will not get over the fact that Vinicius Jr. did not take that penalty. And I'm a huge Carlo Ancelotti fan, but I think that was a huge error from Carlo Ancelotti that ultimately played a significant role in Brazil no longer being in this tournament, and it's disappointing to say the least.
Time to revoke that. Really time to revoke that Don status from Don Carlo Ancelotti. Time to say you need to do something special if you're going to stay in this job now, sir. Listen, the whole game though. You go back to the very opening in Norway. I mean, he's very clearly offside in the build-up to that goal, but as they pull the ball back across, and there are 3 Norwegians lining up on the edge of the box to take the opportunity, and not a yellow shirt within 10 feet of them, and you were just like, wow, that's telling this early in the game. And yes, Brazil grew into that first half. You mentioned the penalty. Nyland made a couple of great saves with his legs from Vinny Jr. and Gab Martinelli.
He was fantastic. He was absolutely unbelievable.
And you come up against those performances sometimes, right? But they come on in the second half. They bring Endrick on. Huge response where we were. Huge response in the stadium. Gets an opportunity within a minute of coming on the pitch and takes a touch too many, maybe. Pulls the shot wide. Like, that was the moment for him to
with
announce
his left
himself.
foot when he had a chance to take it to the right.
That international stage, that moment where Endrick says, I am here. This is why you must pick me, Carlo Ancelotti. Yes, we get Neymar come on. Yes, he gets his late penalty and his send-off moment and his last international goal before he retires. But I thought that Norway were threatening throughout. I know they absorbed a lot of pressure, but the first goal, the passing, the cross, they absolutely pulled that Brazil defence apart. And I'm like, everyone is going to talk about Erling Haaland. And obviously, he is the man for the moment. You said it. He beat Gabriel. Beautiful header on the first goal. Great finish on the second goal. There was so much talk about that matchup going into it and their history with City and Arsenal and the times they faced off with each other. And it's wonderful when you have that narrative and then it all does come together in a game. It's a beautiful thing to see. But Odegaard was sensational last night.
He was.
Shedlerup off the bench was absolutely sensational last night. Nusa in the first half really caused Brazil all sorts of trouble. Like, this is a Norway side who are not just Erling Haaland, who have a lot in their locker, who defend resolutely and are going to cause England real problems on Saturday. This is not we've got through the Azteca, now we've got a bit of an easy one in the quarter-final. And some people will sell it as that. It'll be all, as long as we keep Erling Haaland quiet. This is a good Norwegian team. This is a team that maybe people didn't expect to win a single knockout game, and now they're in the quarter-finals. Like, do not write them off. Brazil are the big question mark that needs to be talked about. But
I'm writing them. England's going to the semifinals. I'm writing them off. England is going to the semifinals. You can take this Viking road back home where you started, and take your Norwegian fish and everything else that comes with it. Their journey's come to an end in Miami. England's going to win this matchup, and they're going to go to the semifinals.
I would certainly look at all of the action that's happening in the. You pouring me a drink in there? Is that an Alka-Seltzer? Is that to clear my head a little bit? Right, you are.
5:20 a.m. a little early for a drink here.
You're watching the S Word, sponsored by Calci. Will Gavin here in London, Master Test Fatsian live in Seattle. We'll talk USMNT up next as Nate Bukaty is here, and we've got
absolute shambles.
Got to break down the Fowler and Balogun situation. So that's all coming.
Deep dive into the world of football.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
cuss words here. Just 2 hours of full-on football dialogue.
Every day,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
A lot of you getting up in the chat, both on the S Word YouTube channel and on the talkSPORT YouTube channel as well. You're here with the S Word, sponsored by Calci. I'm Will Gavin, live in London. The great master Tez Fatsian is in Seattle ahead of the USMNT Belgium tonight. It's 1 a.m. here. It's what? That makes it 5 p.m. in the US? Yeah, quick maths there. Not very quick at all.
Yes. There you go. It was quick enough.
You've got a whole day to get ready for this one, my friend. I am very excited to see what you get up to tonight.
I am still recovering from yesterday.
I cannot figure out if I'm going to be able to stay up for this game after last night. I'm not going to lie.
I don't blame you.
It might be.
I don't blame you.
Pop it on the TV.
I literally do not
wake
blame
up at 5 a.m. and watch it in full cup job because it's going to be a struggle.
Yesterday was so unbelievable. I do not blame you at all. If that is the reality that you have to face on a Monday, early Tuesday evening or morning, well, I can't fault you at all. But you know what? You're gonna miss a Balogun hat trick. So, you know,
there's a little matter of Portugal-Spain tonight as well at 8 p.m. here UK time, midday out on the West Coast, 3 p.m. out in the East Coast. So 2 huge games coming up tonight. We're going to preview those in a moment. And listen, Master, Nate Bukaty is going to be joining us momentarily. We love getting him on around the US games. He gave a brilliant speech to the English going to the Azteca as well, and was messaging me last night to say how wonderful the team performance was. We didn't mention Declan Rice, by the way. His 2 best games in an England shirt of the last 5 years have been in the last 2 games. He's been brilliant. Anyway, let's talk USA Belgium.
On a bum hammy.
But yeah, completely. But before we talk about it, I need to get your thoughts, Master, because obviously the information comes out last night that following Balogun's red card is going to be suspended for a year, which basically means it's never going to miss a World Cup game because by the time we back round to qualifiers, it's not going to be that he's going to be ruled out. We get that piece of news down first and foremost, and then Ben Jacobs brings us the exclusive that the White House have spoken to Gianni Infantino and have spoken to FIFA. FIFA are denying that is the reason that the review was looked at. They are claiming that this was an independent panel, although for all the people that will tell you these things should not be being reviewed by an independent panel, it's literally in the rules. So to suggest that there isn't some kind of sway that has happened from Infantino's end because of that conversation seems very, very suspect. And then everything all the fallout after it. UEFA have absolutely killed the decision, saying it crossed a red line. Listen. Just as an absolute disgrace. As a USMNT fan who maybe the right decision has been come to. I want to see Balogun in action. I want to see him in a round of 16 game against Belgium. That's my preference. How do you feel about the whole process and how this came together?
I was shocked. I landed in Seattle and someone sent me the text message of the report that Balogun's red card or suspension has been delayed. And I had to check it 3 or 4 times to make sure it wasn't fake. I was completely convinced of the fact that this was not going to get rescinded. I was all on board with Ricardo Pepi to the point where I was about to make Eddie Guerrero, who's your Pepi shirts, preparing for this opportunity that Ricardo Pepi had in front of him. And now it's pretty apparent and Balogun's going to start and make his presence known against Belgium. Look, how we got to this point, I can understand the frustration that Belgium has. I can understand the frustration that other fans of the sport have. But I was very adamant to the fact that I did not believe this was a red card. And I also believe that the process in which we got to this red card through VAR on a foul that was not even given a yellow card to get elevated and escalated to a red card through VAR, I thought was absolutely egregious. And so I never felt like Balogun deserved the red card. And the simple fact that he's able to play right now, I guess I essentially got what I wanted, that Balogun was free and able and available to play. But yes, I can understand the frustration people have from the process in which we got here and how it happened. But ultimately, I'm not going to be apologetic about it. Balogun's going to be available. Pochettino, he's Argentine. He's definitely going to play Balogun. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to play him. So
listen, I don't think
I was in a bar last night with Chris Whittingham, and I literally just the slight chance just proposed this question to Chris Whittingham, and I was like, hey, do you think there's any chance that Pochettino would just, maybe not start Balogun and just, win this thing fair and square? He's like, No, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Pochettino's going to start Balogun, and Balogun's going to make a presence in this game. And I was like, you're absolutely right. There's no doubt in my mind Balogun's going to play.
A regular contributor to the show, Mika Raj, gets in touch and says, don't start Balo. We don't need him to get past Belgium, and we don't need an asterisk against the star on our
We don't
shirt.
need him.
I mean, I love that approach, and I don't think anyone is expecting you to apologise from a footballing perspective at all. That's not what anyone's looking for, because I think there's two issues here. We all agree that actually likely justice has been served from a footballing perspective. There are some people who will argue with that. I know our own Max Scott has been very vocal that he thinks in modern football that is a red card, but it's the other side of things. Let's get to Nate Bukaty. Let's get his thought on this, and we'll kick it about between us, because you do have a huge game tonight coming up against Belgium, a chance to win 2 knockout games in the same tournament for the first time in USMNT history.
Tries to find Balogun, he gets to it, Balogun scores! Rolls it past the keeper, this time it will count. It was a ball into his feet.
This is going so well. You're starting to build something. You're starting to become a top 15, maybe could you crack the top 10?
Well, here we go. Wow, following Balogun, the goal-scoring hero, sees red.
It happened because by accident, and it's never intentional. That is why for me it's never red card.
Because I can tell you Flo Balogun is now eligible to play in the round of 16 game for the US men's national team against Belgium.
You know, I've got to say, I think it's disgusting. I think it totally undermines the integrity of the whole thing. Yeah. You know, I think it's diabolical.
Yuri Tielemans of Aston Villa to win the game for Belgium from the spot, right-footed, into the top corner. Belgium back from the brink. How on earth did they do that? But that is an act of escapology like I have never seen before in a World Cup.
Whatever happens, potential for heartbreak or euphoria.
I can't cope. I cannot cope with this World Cup. What it's doing to us all.
It's not like Adrian Durham's to be dramatic about these things by any stretch of the imagination. There's plenty of meat to get into
not at all.
on this following Balogun stuff as well. But let's welcome in our guest to talk USMNT, the great sports commentator and just KC legend, Nate Bukaty is on the show. Nate, how are you, brother?
I'm living a fever dream with my worlds colliding, Will, because as I gave you that motivational speech on why you should be brave and full of hope when you went into the Lions' Den, because Declan Rice was going to lead you there, I wake up this morning and see him wearing a Kansas City Royals hat while talking about having the greatest performance or most satisfying win in England national team history. And I can't remember if I told you guys this or not, but I've been telling everybody, England's got their best shot ever because they are going to have the spirit of pioneering optimism that exudes Kansas City infiltrate while they're here, and you're seeing that mindset play out in front of us, and you put that England team together with this Kansas City spirit, and special things are happening, Will.
I like that you're trying to claim a potential World Cup win for the city of Kansas City.
Yes.
I do have to say, I am astonished that when we knew what the path to the final would be, that the fact that they're going from Mexico to Miami to Atlanta to New York, if they do go all the way, that they didn't go and find an East Coast training base for the knockout stages is madness to me. But they're going to fly in and out of Kansas City. They clearly love it. And listen, you were messaging me last night. We gave Declan Rice his props. He deserves it. I thought it was one of his best performances ever in an England shirt. The driving run for the first goal is something we just haven't seen from him in the last 6 months or so since he's been carrying that injury. He was getting behind everything in that second half as well. It was one of fourth quarter, if you will. It was a glorious, glorious thing to see. But that's not what we're here to talk about, Nate. Before we get into the game tonight, let's talk this Fowler and Balogun situation. Let's talk about what you made of the reports yesterday that the White House supposedly interfered with this whole process. FIFA claimed that's not the reason, but when you stack everything up, it seems like that conversation may have had quite the sway.
So I think last time I was on your show, I dropped a musical reference. So I'm going to go Mick Jagger this time and say, Master, you're not the only one with mixed emotions. That's how I feel. I think Flo Balogun never deserved a red card and never deserved to get suspended. For him, I'm thrilled that he gets to play because that seemed like the right thing. If the right thing or the right conclusion was achieved by less than savory means, that changes the way you look at it, right? I don't know how much the Trump administration influenced this or didn't. Is that them rushing to take credit for something they didn't do? Is that them influencing something? There's a part of me that feels like, okay, so this is the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game, because we've seen corruption, happen through the history of this sport, and typically it hasn't come to the side of the Americans. It's gone the other way. So I don't know. I'm all over the map with it. I don't want to see Flo Balogun have to miss the game because of what I think was an absolutely terrible call and incorrectly applied rules at the time. But I also don't really think the government should be getting involved in these types of things. And I think it raises all kinds of questions and red flags, of course.
I was bringing this up in the group chat. Obviously, I was, being the bravado American in our group chat, and I proposed in Will's. Me doing that? Yeah, it's a shock, stunner. On the 4th of July weekend, I know I broke out the character, I broke out the bit, but I kind of proposed it to Will as obviously FIFA was insisting that the White House had nothing to do with it, and he was speaking with the skepticism that I understand that he would. But it left people believing, do you believe FIFA or do you believe the White House? That's between a rock and a hard place. I don't know who's telling the truth at this point.
It's the ultimate Sophie's choice of a situation. And listen, this is not this administration, but it is an American government who, back in 2015, were the ones who brought charges against all these FIFA executives for corruption cases. And it is the same government who spoke out, the same country that spoke out so heavily against the Russian World Cup, who spoke out about the Qatar World Cup and everything that went along with that. And I'm fully aware this is a different administration. And as we've seen over the last 2 years and with a previous reign, they handle things differently, right? But
to say the least,
we sat here and we said that we don't want politics to instill itself in football when we talked about Donald Trump being there to hand the trophy over, and we don't want to see a crossover. And this government, and particularly this wing of this government, have spoken out so readily about athletes and the fact that they're not allowed to take a political stance for whatever reason that might be. And normally, let's be honest, it's something to do with human rights, etc. And they speak out so readily about it. The crossing of politics and football in this situation, if that is what's happened, and it does look like that is what has happened, I like Flo Balogun being in this game. I think it's the right footballing thing to happen. The way that it's happened brings the whole game into disrepute. Like, not this game, but the whole just way that this organisation is being run. And honestly, if Gianni Infantino were to leave tomorrow, I don't think there would be a single tear shed worldwide.
The only quibble I even have with you is the idea of bringing it into disrepute. Hasn't it already been there?
Okay, fair point. That's a very fair point.
I mean, you just mentioned it. I mean, I was part of this referencing Kansas City, but this is the third attempt by the city of Kansas City to try to get the World Cup, and the last one was the one that happened where we all thought it was coming to the United States, and then it went to Russia and Qatar. And as you just mentioned, we all know where that ended up heading. And I think there are some people, and I think they might be cynical, but there are some people that are like, hey, if this is the game, you might as well get involved in it and work it to your favor as opposed to sitting around and griping about it. I don't know how I'm not saying that that's how I feel about it, but that's certainly I've heard that from a lot of people over the last 24 hours.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, mate. You don't
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But listen, let's speak on this game, because obviously all the controversy, as they say overseas, which sounds ridiculous. Nevertheless, with all of that aside, Balogun's going to play. How does this change the dynamic of this USA-Belgium match that obviously is a crucial point and a crucial match in the round of 16?
It's funny, guys, because I've spent the last 4 days giving myself this motivational talk about how we're going to be fine without him. Ricardo Pepi's a good player. And even if he hasn't played that well so far in this World Cup, he is a good player, and they were going to be fine. I kept telling myself that. Then you see that he's going to be back. You go, yes! So excited about that. Balogun's playing incredibly well right now for the team, and I think that does make a big difference for them. There's a confidence component to it. He's been incredible. So, look, what I expect from this game is still somewhat the same, though. I think this is. I was looking at the game flow of the Norway-Brazil game, like at the halftime mark yesterday. And, they show the peaks and the valleys based on which way the game's headed. And it was like even peaks and valleys. There were 5-minute stretches where each side was owning the game. And I'm thinking that's what we're going to see in this game tonight. There's going to be stretches where the United States have Belgium under pressure and they can't get out, and the U.S. look great. And there's going to be other stretches where it's going to be looking like the United States are holding on for dear life. And I think that's the stage we're at in this tournament now, right, guys? And that's what's going to make it so stressful but enjoyable to watch at the same time.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think you're absolutely right. It's a really great game. Like, on paper, it's a really great game. But I just want to... Master talks about it being a crucial moment in football. How much does this feel like a crucial moment for the USMNT for soccer? Because we were talking about this last night. There's part of us that we like to have the banter with Master in the chat. And at 4 a.m, we're going, wouldn't it be great if the USA got battered tomorrow? Just wouldn't it be great? But actually,
I thought the same way against Mexico. Don't worry.
I don't want that. We've lost 2 hosts in 2 days. Like, I want the US70 to advance. I want them to go further in this competition. I want it to help soccer get bigger in America. And this feels like such a big moment for that. And
it helps the show.
It helps the show massively, by the way. But I feel like I've watched enough of this Belgium side to say I think the USMNT, I believe they will win.
Well, hey, you got the chant down already. Our lame chants that we do. That's one of them right there. So thank you. Listen, this is the inflection point for the United States men's national team. What they've done so far is meet expectations. What they have the opportunity to do today is blow past those expectations and announce not only to the football curious population in the United States, but to the entire world, that they are a legitimate player on this global stage, that they are to be considered and to be taken seriously. The United States has made it to that point once before, and let's be honest, that was in Korea at 4 o'clock in the morning to a sleeping nation. This is in front of the entire nation watching and the rest of the footballing world watching. And so let's take Mexico, for example. They celebrated like crazy, the fifth match. They got the fifth match. But we all know they didn't make it any further in the tournament, right? So what they did, I think Mexico had a really good tournament. I thought they played well. They should walk out proud of what they did.
Yes.
The last 15 minutes of that game, we can talk about, but they should be proud of what they did. They played really well, but it wasn't special. It went from, okay, good tournament to it's over. The United States, what they've done to this point has been really impressive. They've played some of the best soccer we've ever seen them play, but all they've done is beaten teams they were supposed to beat. It becomes a special tournament if they win tonight. So, everybody likes to talk about pressure, and I'm going to give them the same speech that I gave you last week, Will. Pressure is a privilege. Instead of looking at, how much, everyone's counting on you, you should be looking at what you have the opportunity to do tonight. You have a chance to flip the entire script that the world thinks about this country in soccer and that this own country thinks about in soccer. That's what stands in front of you tonight. You have the chance to take what's been a decent, good tournament, better than decent, a good tournament, into something special. That's what's here.
Oh, come on. I'm excited now. You've got me going. I'm definitely going to stay up until 3 a.m. to watch this one. Hopefully no lightning delays like we had last night. The wonderful Nate Bukaty joining the show. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Gets me riled up for the USMNT, which is an astonishing thing to think about. But wonderful stuff from him, Master Tesfatsi, and myself, Will Gavin. Get in touch on all of those social media channels you can see to Master's left, and we will be back momentarily. What a night of action from the refereeing perspective. Christina Unkel will be in the house.
Around here, we only use the F word.
talkSPORT presents
the S word. who love football in North America. And I mean the proper kind, where you only use your feet.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
You're back with the S Word on talkSPORT. Do keep getting involved in the chat. Loads of you messaging there, so we will get to some of your messages in there. We're live on the talkSPORT YouTube channel and also the S Word powered by talkSPORT. Please go over there and subscribe. We're about to crack 10k, so we'd love to have you on board with that. And listen, we're growing. We're getting there. We're reaching this audience in America. We are loving the feedback we're getting. And yeah, if you want this show to continue after the World Cup, which we're kind of hoping it will do, a little breaking news, hopefully, fingers crossed, then you need to get in there and subscribe and like and give us those nice metrics so that the bosses go, oh yeah, definitely.
Help us get to 10k. If you're watching, help us get to 10k.
Now we've finished begging you for your subscriptions, let's talk a little bit of, well, I mean, we had to do this. There were so many big decisions in the two games last night. It's time for a little slice of this.
After review. Clear and obvious with Christina Unkel on the S Word.
The number 20 United States committee serious foul. Red card.
Wow.
Christina Unkel joins us for Clear and Obvious. Christina, how are you this morning?
Oh, good morning. I was talking to Sam. I feel like I'm living in an alternate universe today. Yesterday, the past 24 hours, I'm like, what is happening? Like, do I wake up early or do I just continue to sleep in so I can just pretend everything's still at peace?
I don't know about Master.
You and me both.
I don't know about Master. I'm at 45 minutes sleep last night right now. These tiny eyes are much tinier than usual, but we'll get through it all together, I swear.
What is sleep?
Yeah.
As I ask you once again on the show. What is sleep?
That's a true point.
What is sleep?
Just from your perspective, before we get into the decisions last night, and there was so much to unpack from that, all the talk of the following Balogun situation and whether or not it should have been rescinded, did the US government have a part in it, FIFA denying it, everything else. Just tell us from your perspective, without that phone call from the White House, did they have grounds to actually suspend this red card for it to go to a committee? Was that handled in the correct way?
So it wasn't handled in the correct way. And so what many have heard, and that was the first question, right, outside of everyone, including our group here, saying, was it a red card in the first place? And we all established that it wasn't a red card. Is it appealable? And not only, myself and others, but importantly, FIFA officials also said it's not appealable. And we saw that through, even Belgium's statement, which just kind of confirms, and you could definitely tell they lawyered up in that statement, citing to all the different, points of where it says that red card automatic triggers suspensions. And that's a key word because people keep trying to bring a past case in 1962 up as relevant, but it was an automatic trigger that those could not be appealed. And that was the understanding, that was the expression, that was the, the information, that was what was briefed to everybody in not just circulars, but also in meetings and in, campaign workshops, and it's in the rules of competition. So for everyone to understand, this was not an appealable situation, and it has actually not been appealed in the sense of the suspension still exists, the red card still exists, and the referee's decision has not been overturned. Now, this extraordinary, yes, it is a first case of impression of using Article 27 to suspend a red card given in a tournament. And once again, I'm emphasizing words. This is an extraordinary decision to have made to do so because it automatically came with an automatic suspension. Article 27 has broad discretion. So I'm not sitting here saying they didn't have the discretion to do so. We've just never seen precedent for it. And none of us have seen the reasoning or the rationale as to why they use this very loose, broad discretion of a disciplinary committee of an independent body, which keyword independent has a different meaning in FIFA than it does in, Merriam-Webster dictionary. So this is just a very perplexing case as to use something like that. And I think that's the most dangerous thing is because we don't have rationale or answers. No one's fighting discretion. They're fighting the lack of transparency. And now we're having to fill it with speculation. And that's where we get to what could be very, very harmful for the organization, the sport, and the tournament.
The confusing part for me was I thought the red card was rescinded until I read the statement. And obviously the same application in which Cristiano Ronaldo got and a couple other players or situations happen in terms of leading up to the World Cup where they're able to delay their red card, obviously, or suspension. We've seen other instances of this in international tournaments. I'll bring up Jude Bellingham, who obviously in the 2024 Euros had a suspension that was delayed towards after the tournament. So why was this delayed instead of rescinded? That's the part for me that I'm still having a hard time understanding.
Because if you are to rescind it, you are technically breaking your own laws, right? So FIFA competition rules, and that's what everyone was leaning on to, was the Article 9s and Article 10s, where red card automatic 1-game suspensions for subjective decisions by the referees cannot be appealed or reviewed. So in order for them to kind of create a little bit of a workaround to use Article 27, you can't say, and that, when we're all asking what is the rationale by this disciplinary committee, if they're going to come out and say, well, our rationale is we just don't think it was a fair red card and we don't agree, and the rest of the football world for the most part doesn't agree either, then by essence they're breaking their own competition discussion of saying being able to review red cards. So I know yesterday Gary Neville and I were speaking about, and I'm not opposed to it, of having an appeal process for automatic 1-game red card suspensions. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the process doesn't have that at this moment. So that is why they have to preserve it. They have to keep the suspension. It is kind of more in theory than it is in practice of saying we haven't overruled it, we haven't overturned it, so therefore we haven't violated our own laws. We're just going to suspend it, freeze it, pause it, put somebody on probationary. And, it's very theoretical, but it's like criminal law. You can do this as well. It's just a matter of that is why it's not technically suspended or erased or revoked or rejected, is because then they would be breaking their own laws.
I mean, that sounds like something that should bring the whole thing into question anyway. We'll just go round and round in circles on this if we keep doing it. I'm going to ask you about that Jude Bellingham tweet a little later, though, Master. I tell you, that for nothing, because it got some wonderful responses, some big bites from some members of our talkSPORT family, let's put it that way. The decisions last night, and listen, Christina, we could sit here and we could pick over each of those individual decisions, particularly in the England-Mexico game last night. I think all in all, I think we're all in agreement that they seem to get them pretty right across it. I think what was odd for me is you had that Declan Rice yellow card right at the start of the game, which seemed to really set the tone. And despite getting the big decisions right, I never felt like the referee was in real control in that second half. Maybe that was to the benefit of England in the end, but it got very fractious and very messy.
I think you hit it on the head. And this is one of those games, like I had tweeted last night, I'm like, this is insane. Like there's not many games or anything that can prepare you for this kind of a level of energy. One, you had two teams that were just battling with everything that they had, right? Even at the end of the game, you see Jude Bellingham like barely surviving, right? He's giving everything he can. But then to be thrown into the Azteca, we talk about the players all the time. We talk about, I was laughing, we're like, no more word of altitude, right? But you also forget how much the referees have to put into that. And to go into that, I'm going to use the word hostile, but not in a negative sense, just that incredible energy that the Azteca, that the Mexicans bring, it literally is on top of you. There's not much that can help you prepare for that. There's not many games. And I said, like, this is a struggle game for any referee. Simon Marcini, I consider one of the best referees in the world, right? If you threw Colina back in the days into this game, this is a difficult game. So in my mind and the way I saw it was, yes, got some of the big critical decisions correct, thankfully with the use of VAR and the support of VAR. But it always felt at all times he was on the back of a motorped and he was holding on for dear life. He had fallen off the seat, but he was holding on with his two hands onto the back. But it's very hard to fault an official like this. And when people do, they're missing so many different subjective elements that are incredibly difficult to see, to feel, and to be able to really truly step into his feet, because that is a hard game to officiate.
So you felt like all the calls, the red card, the penalties were spot on?
Yeah, what we call KPIs, right? Key performance, game-changing decisions, all of those were spot on. Management, right? You would want to say, hey, we would want management a little bit different from whether it's the style or moving referees to the side or players to the side or maybe doing that. But it's very like today's Monday, American football quarterback kind of a thing. So nothing that I think was mission critical.
I did have a question, and I promise this isn't a myopic England hat thing on. I just did have a question over the Kane penalty decision, because whilst I can see he clearly kicks the player and I can absolutely see why that is given, it was one of those that I feel like you see that in a game pre-VAR, and I don't know if I would ever see that given as a penalty, or very, very rarely. And that's where I start to just, in my mind, start to say, where is the line with VAR? Where is the clear and obvious? Like, where do we say that, 2 feet coming together, both going for the same ball, that happens to get their second counts as enough of a foul for it to be a penalty? I was like, I accepted it in the moment, but it felt very soft compared with what we'd have seen in a pre-VAR world.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head. I mean, I've probably clipped over six plays like this throughout this tournament. If I think there's a pattern and there's one really big discussion point that from a FIFA officiating standpoint that we would want to take and we want to workshop is this conversation about when a player is already in movement or they're already in that space and they're occupied, and then you have another player stepping in at the last second and putting their foot in and they're getting kicked. Do we want those as fouls, right? So you're talking about Harry Kane yesterday. I saw it. I'm like, they're going to send it down for VAR, but then it's equivalent to the Belgium-Senegal game, right? He's already stepping. He's already basically about simultaneously committed to that slide when he clips the back of the ankle, and that's recommended down. You have the conversation of Scotland versus Brazil when Vinicius Jr. was just one step quicker than the defender and steps into that space, which then nicks the Scottish player nicks the back of his heel, and then the goal is taken away. So there's a common trend in philosophy here that I don't think we and also footballers are in the football community saying, at what point do we draw this line on a subjective saying you stepped into someone's space versus you already committed to that play, to that tackle. You were playing the ball in a fair manner and you couldn't pull out of that play, even though that other player put their foot in at that last possible second. And I would chalk up the Harry Kane to just another consistent play like that.
Christina, it's always a joy to speak with you. You are wonderful as always, and I loved seeing you on the sofa yesterday or the day before as well. I was like, yes, Christina, get out of the bunker, get onto the sofa and tell them what for on the telly, because it's wonderful to see you there. So thank you so much. As always, the brilliant Christina Unkel joining us here on the S Word.
Awesome, thank you.
Look, it's been a very serious show in this first hour. England just got through to the quarterfinals of the World Cup in astonishing fashion in the Azteca, and the USMNT tonight have a chance to win just a third knockout stage game in their history, a second in the same tournament. Like, these are huge moments, and we need to have some fun with it. So we're going to do that in the second hour. The great Carlos.
We need an hour to wrap our heads around what just happened yesterday.
That's it. That's it.
To help our audience walk through what exactly happened yesterday. Understandably so.
Hour 2, Will Gavin is locked in and ready to take it on. Let's go. Carlos Yustis is here. Adrian Durham's here. I promise you, we're going to have some good times in the second hour here on the S Word, sponsored by Calci. Yeehaw.
From kickoff to the full-time whistle,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
S Word,
featuring Will Gavin and Master Tess Fassian.
and a squad of big-name contributors.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
You're back with the S Word, sponsored by talkSPORT. I'm Will Gavin, live in London. The great Master Tess Fassian in Seattle, where it's very early doors. And in about 11 hours' time, the USMNT will be in action, taking on the Belgians. We'll talk more about that coming up in this hour. We've got the little matter of Spain-Portugal to preview as well. The Brazilians are out of this World Cup, and we've barely talked about it in the first hour. So Tim Vickery will be here to talk about all the fallout there. Mexico, brilliant hosts. They fall by the wayside as England advance, so still loads to get to. Adrian Durham will be here as well. So yeah, so much to come on this next hour on the S Word, sponsored by Calci. Come on, England! Yeah, come on, England.
You look like the English fan that told me Wagwan when I was at a pub watching England-Croatia.
I do not understand that. As much as I feel like I could make that joke to you privately, I would never say it to you in public, even to you as we're friends. I'm like, I would be way too scared. I'm just like, what if somebody hears me? What if I get cancelled? That's very, very funny that an England fan did that with you, though. Listen,
it's been a tournament of just unbelievable characters that I've come across all throughout this country, all across Mexico. That was the last match in Mexico, Will. That was the last match in Mexico. Every other match moving forward is going to be in the United States, including the one tonight, of course, in Seattle, USA, Belgium. We've got another beautiful one in Dallas, Texas, between Spain and Portugal, coming up 1 o'clock Pacific time, I believe it is. So, yeah, the characters that I met throughout this entire tournament have just been unbelievable, including the characters I met last night, that watching it at a Seattle pub with a bunch of Mexican fans.
Not that you're not going to definitely be in the pub for the early kickoff anyway, but just do away. It's 12 Pacific. I don't want you to miss kickoff by an hour. It's 12 Pacific.
Thank you. I did not know. Thank you. Trust me, I'm going straight to bed after the show.
It's important stuff. Our fans need to know. All of the viewers out in the US as well as here in the UK. Loads of them getting up in the chat as well. A lot of talk of the performances of England last night. How Haaland is a machine. There's also a lot of anti-England, we've got a lot of Scottish fans off the back of our times with Shaban. We've got a lot of followers on that side. And there has been a lot of, ooh, you beat Mexico and now you're suddenly going to win the World Cup. The world's gone mad. It was.
I mean, Scotland beat Haiti, and all of a sudden they thought they were going to make it to the knockout. So, it's tomato.
And the great Patio Joe, by the way, up in the chat saying, good morning, boys. He says, best game of the tournament so far at Stadio Azteca last night. Happy that Balogun's back, but not the way I wanted it. Nevertheless, go USA.
Was it better than Argentina-Cape Verde? Was it better than Argentina-Cape Verde? Because I think that's the conversation that I've yet to see so far today. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue.
Let me tell you why I think it was better than Argentina-Cape Verde. Because what hasn't really been talked about that Argentina-Cape Verde game is that for 55 minutes, I thought Cape Verde kind of gave Argentina too much respect. Argentina didn't capitalise on it in any way, shape or form, but they looked like a team who were like, oh, we're in our first knockouts, we're playing Argentina, isn't this lovely? They're passing the ball around, they weren't really pressing, and then they just switched it on at that hour mark. That goal just seemed to ignite something in them, and that last hour was amazing. But I think last night was just 90 minutes of pure tension, excitement. Let's ask a man who was there. He was pitchside, he's a Telemundo host. He's a play-by-play caller, by the way, for the Spanish 49ers channel. That's how I know this man, and just a wonderful human being. The great Carlos Yustis joins us now on the S Word. Carlos, how are you, brother?
If I look still sleepy, that's because I am, but it's always a pleasure to be with you, Will. Me talking football and non-American football with you, Will Gavin, it's absolutely bonkers.
Listen, what were the scenes like in Mexico City last night? Because we saw those wonderful celebrations, but it felt like everything I saw on social media after the game last night was resolutely proud of what Mexico had achieved, even though disappointed at the result.
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand that for many, many years, the Mexican national team was not able to win a knockout round game. And yes, now we have an extra round. So in theory, the paradox is that Mexico has their worst showing at home in a World Cup ever, because both times in the past they made it to quarterfinals, and this is the first time they don't, even though they won those games, even though they were undefeated and they didn't concede. So it's kind of a paradox there. But the truth is that in any other time when you're facing an elite team, because at the end of the day, England, it doesn't matter if they were playing cohesively before this or not. They have some of the best players in the world, and they were able to fight back and put England against the ropes and just be very, very close to a result. Makes you feel that there's something to work on. And with the new system and the new coaching staff that is going to come in, and with all the younger players that some of them might be sent to Europe for this next probably year already, there's a lot of things that make you happy when you're looking at the team. So yesterday, when you see them fight back and put England against the ropes a little bit, even though it was, the stadium and the altitude and all these things, it's something to be happy about.
Yeah, but I mean, falling behind 2-0 early on in that match, I'm still shocked by how that happened. And the obviously the response and all that, you can be commendable of how Mexico was able to respond immediately, scoring a goal and continue to stay in the fight of the match. But I did not have that in the game script whatsoever, that Mexico would fall 2-0 down in the first half and conceding goals within minutes of each other.
No, absolutely. I mean, and if you're gonna be like absolutely, analytical of how the things that have to be improved, to me the worst part is the second goal, because again, you're facing a very good side, and that first goal comes when Mexico was, I'm gonna dare say that, was pressuring the most. I mean, they already had that diving header by Raúl Jiménez prior to that. They were consistently attacking, and he comes literally in a transition from a long ball that Raúl was very close to putting down just in front of Pickford. So that first goal, it can happen, right? But then, to me, the biggest problem, and I talked to Vasco Aguirre right after the game about this, was the fact that you do fall asleep on those 2 minutes, and then you get yourself 2 goals back, and that's a big problem. And to me, that's the one thing that it separated Mexico to be, outside of the best 8 in the tournament.
From your perspective of the game last night as well, did you feel like in that last half an hour after the penalty, only one shot on target, England obviously sat deep, they obviously made it difficult as possible, there were 4 centre-backs on the pitch, for crying out loud, they very clearly said to you, this is how we're going to set out. Did you feel like Mexico did enough? Do you think the changes from Aguirre were correct, that they did put enough pressure on to actually go and get a result from this game?
Well, the biggest problem that I saw was that, yes, in the sense that you had to try to get inside the box, because if you brought anybody else that could potentially, you think they could break down that low block, and especially when they were all inside the box or parking the bus, as you say in England, it was going to be hard to break it down. So you had to throw those crosses. You had to be able to find, and I think most of the things were, you were not going to probably win that cross per se, but you were trying to create enough chaos inside the box to get that second ball. You want kind of how the first goal happened, right? It's a rebound by the defender, the ball gets in Quiñones, and then he just blasted it home. To me, that's what Mexico was trying to do. But once you have all those players inside the box, there's just very little you can do to compete with them physically. And we don't have a player that can come in and take on 3, 4, 5 players and just dribble it past them. So I think from a perspective, from an idea of what you were having to do, was the right call. Unfortunately, one of those rebounds didn't happen, but you still had some chances. I mean, you had the Edson Alvarez that I totally believe he closed his eyes when he was doing that header, and because he went like this, he ended up connecting with it. There was a couple of balls that went sideways. They had that bicycle kick by Raúl that was put on the head of the defender. So you try to create those chances, but it was not enough.
I mean, Jordan Pickford also, by the way, Master, played the game of his life. We haven't talked about that yet. He looked like a man 6'6", not 6 foot tall. Astonishing, some of the saves he made. But yeah, sorry, go on, Master.
Yeah, there was one tremendous save that he made that I'm still thinking about. The low saves that he made again, a game-changing header that he had that again, credit to him. I know there's been some discussions about his performance throughout this World Cup, but I thought he showed up big time in Estadio Azteca. But what were the scenes post-match? Because I understand from my Mexican friends that, obviously the last couple of years for Mexican national team has been quite a roller coaster. You win the Gold Cup, there's some sentiment, optimism with Javier Aguirre. You go into this tournament and the belief and the sentiment, it just went through the roof considering the performances and, having a clean sheet in every single match leading up to this point. to go out in this manner. How do Mexican fans feel about the national team now, considering where they were at before the start of this tournament?
I feel like at least the people who were in the stadium were very hopeful just in general, or at least they were happy. I'm not going to say happy because nobody's happy when you lose, but they were content with the fact that Mexico fought back and that there was something to build up upon. Because I feel even before the tournament started, maybe a couple of months before the opening match, there was very little hope on this national team in the collective. I feel people got detached from the Mexican national team for a very long time, and whether it was with Diego Coca, and you will know this very well, that Nations League loss to the U.S. a couple of years ago. Then the fact that you were not winning games, there was a big stretch where you changed coaches 3 times. So all those things put together were making the fan not being hopeful. But then the tournament happens, you win that first match, you win the second match, you win that third match. And I feel the people started really getting behind the team. And you felt that yesterday. One of the things that I really appreciated from the fans is that usually in the past couple of years, when things were not going well, fans will just basically turn on the team and start booing them, even at their own stadium. I mean, it happened against Portugal in the last friendly they had. And this time around, even with a 2-0 down, they got behind the team, they rallied them up, and that was a big reason why they were able to put that goal back so quickly. So I feel that the collective of how people feel around the team has changed, or at least it showed in this tournament. And I think people were happy that even though you lost to one of the superpowers, as usually happens, you were able to enjoy a really good match.
One of the superpowers. Hear that, Master? Hear that whispering on the wind? They're going to win the World Cup.
We'll see. We'll see if there's a superpower if they can turn around a red card decision and a suspension. We'll see how super you are.
The wrong kind of superpower, right? Yeah, let's not talk about that.
That's a different superpower. That's kind of Dr. Doom superpower.
It's a superpower holding a hand over a big red button. Listen, Carlos, absolutely wonderful.
England can do it.
Absolutely wonderful stuff from you. Really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You're a great man. Carlos Yustis joining us here on the S Word. Wonderful from him. Master, it's been like one of those shows. I think everyone's feeling a little weary this morning. Everyone's feeling like, whether you're in the Azteca, whether you're watching it at 4 a.m. here, whether you're watching it at a nice reasonable time over there, but the Mexican fans were having a party. Everyone's feeling a little bit like still recovering from last night, and we still haven't even talked about the fact that Brazil got knocked out in much depth.
In many ways,
man.
Yeah, listen, I had such a. I was gonna stay in LA to watch this match because I told you Mas Fiesta was the goal and the aim. I ended up coming to Seattle a day early before the USA-Belgium match. Had a bunch of friends here: Chris Whittingham, Tom Bogert, John Hollinger. Just a hodgepodge of people that we watched this match with at a bar here in Seattle, and it was 95% Mexicans. And so, and of course, I'm head to toe in Mexican gear as well.
Yeah.
So, I hope the optimism going into the match, the belief, as Carlos just mentioned as well, through the 90 minutes was something, again, you don't typically see from the Mexican fan base that you saw in this match, because they really wanted to push us over the line. But even after the match ended, well, it was literally 4 or 5 hours of a DJ just playing just all the hits. All the hits. All the cumbia, all the reggaeton. And again, you would have thought Mexico won the way that people were dancing and just enjoying the moment. Obviously, who knows what it would have been like if Mexico actually won. But there was a sentiment within that crowd, within that atmosphere, within that environment, that everyone was going to enjoy themselves and enjoy this moment and enjoy what we witnessed. Because I literally was bouncing around talking to different people that I've never met before, because all my friends left, unfortunately. So I was by myself talking to random people and just literally asking them, what did you think of this match? And everyone was just kind of like, wow, we really were blessed. We were blessed with one incredible match, one incredible FIFA World Cup match, a core memory in our lifetime, 90 minutes that we'll never forget.
And listen, they are a team who, there is still a future there. They are a team who have come on a long way in the last 4 years, who Javier Aguirre has got them back at a level where they could really compete at this World Cup. A lot of people thought a couple of years ago that this Mexico side could be a train wreck going into this World Cup. And yeah, he's had his issues with Liga MX, and yeah, they haven't loved everything he's done and the way he's approached. But some of the superstars who have emerged in this tournament, no more so than Gilberto Mora. Obviously, we talked about him on the show last week, but again, he had a really great first half last night. I thought Brian Gutierrez off the bench, he's playing in Guadalajara. He's still only 23. 33 years old. As much as Quinones is already approaching 30, he's still a guy who you can imagine making an impact in a World Cup in 4 years' time and in, Gold Cups, etc. before that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of reason for positivity there, and it sounded like that's very much the case from Carlos. But a team who don't have a huge amount of positivity around them are the Brazilian national team. Let's be honest. No mas fiesta for our Brazilian brethren. Oh, I tell you, in the Brazilian barbecue restaurant / butchers I watched the game in last night. Oh, God, it was heartbreaking. Absolutely devastating. Not what I needed to carry into an England game that was the tensest hour and a half of my life. But listen, we're going to talk them coming up. The right Tim Vickery's going to join us. And Adrian Durham's going to join us from Mexico City as well. How mas fiesta has Adrian Durham been having in the last 8 hours or so since he came off air? I can't wait to find out coming up on the S Word.
Big name reaction from both sides of the pond.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
kickoff to the full-time whistle.
Don't say the S word. Say the F word. Football.
The S word
from talkSPORT.
You're back with the S word from talkSPORT. Will Gavin repping the quarter-finalist England, getting somehow through that game as the Azteca last night. What a performance it was in the end. Heart, soul, passion, just grit, determination, plus some brilliant football as well. Everything you love to see. Are we going to see the same from the USMNT tonight in Seattle? Oh, we had some... Forget us handling the altitude. They couldn't handle the altitude. That's the point. The wonderful Jude Bellingham, the wonderful Harry Kane, Anthony Gordon playing the game of his life, Jordan Pickford making save after brilliant save. Come on, England. It's coming home. Yeah, I've dropped an altitude and I'm proud of it. Will the USMNT do the same tonight against Belgium? We'll continue to build up to that game and have that one live for you tonight on talkSPORT. Plenty of reaction tomorrow, of course, on the show from 8 a.m. Eastern. But we talked a lot about it at the very top of the show. We talked about Norway's performance. We talked about what coming for Brazil. We need to talk with one of the all-time great South American football correspondents after we play you how it sounded. Brazil crashing out of a tournament far too early once again on talkSPORT.
For the round of 16, it is a titanic clash. The World Cup's most successful ever nation meets the bright new golden generation here to make history. Cideli Square, Hug launching in with Zaire on Cunha, and Brazil will have a penalty kick. Bruno Guimaraes. Here he goes, stuttered run up, right-footed, saved! Turned away to his left-hand side. What a save by Neeland! Chipped it to the back post, headed down! What a save! Magnificent from Neeland! Went in towards Haaland! That is the moment he was waiting for! Vintage Erling Haaland! Oh, that could be no goal! What a save! Backpedaling Neeland to tip it onto the post! Saving the tournament right there! Left-footed shot! He's picked up the corner! Erling Haaland, you beauty! Oh, this is the stuff of Norwegian legend. Neymar staggers forward, it's a stutter again, it's right-footed and he rolls it in. Another 4 years of hurt for Brazil. The World Cup drought is going to continue. It is surely all over for Neymar. That is it! Haaland made history for Norway! Brazil 1, Norway 2.
So just the 3 knockout games won over the last 3 World Cups since that huge defeat to Germany on home soil in 2014. They've gone out of the quarterfinals, and now the round of 16. There is going to be an inquest and a half, I'm sure, in Brazil into the decisions made. Should Endrick have appeared earlier? Did he give Neymar enough time? Everything else that goes along with it. Well, a man who will answer all those questions for
plenty
us.
Of time.
And I'm sure much, much more. The wonderful Tim Vickery is in the house here on the S Word. Tim, how are you? Looking suave as ever, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to protect myself from the most Monday morning of all Monday mornings in Brazil. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, go on, Tim. How Monday morning is that? Tim, you'll be aware of a good friend of yours and mine, Ollie Hunters, who used to work on the overnight show with me when he used to come on regularly. Ollie Hunter has emigrated to Brazil today. He has moved to just outside of Rio de Janeiro today. What a day to move to Brazil.
Yeah, he'll be able to get a discount on all those yellow shirts. I think they're going a little bit cheap today. So if he wants to stock up on yellow shirts, he's gone to the right place.
What is the atmosphere? What is the mood like in Brazil this morning?
Well, I haven't been out yet. I've been broadcasting in a number of languages for the last 3 hours, so I haven't taken the temperature of the streets. But it's always like a death in the family when Brazil get knocked out of the World Cup. And the problem is, it's happening earlier in more humiliating circumstances. All right, even if it's 7-1, at least it's Germany. And then, well, Belgium. That's not very good, is it? Croatia. Norway only just ever won their first knockout game in a World Cup when they beat the Ivory Coast a few days earlier. And Norway enjoying 2/3 of the possession. Good grief, what are we watching here? I spent quite a lot of yesterday afternoon, almost our American friends won't get this reference, I don't think, but almost Doctor Who style, wanting to watch it behind the settee because it was so scary. Imagine a Brazil side with no midfield.
We are very fond and very familiar with Doctor Who. I will say though, the one question I still have that I still do not understand: Bruno Guimaraes going up to take that penalty when Vinicius Jr. has been in the form of his life, and Carlo Ancelotti saying afterwards there's a structure in which they've had for penalty takers with Rafinha, Neymar Jr., Bruno Guimaraes, a whole order, and Vinny's not even in the top 4. You could tell when he was stepping up to the spot and all the deep huff and puffs that he was taking, that it just looked like a nervous man. How consequential was that decision to have Bruno Guimaraes take that penalty and obviously eventually get it saved?
No, massive. I went into the game thinking that Brazil would win and Brazil had found their mojo. I liked the second half of against Japan when they dug themselves out of a hole. And in the light of the subsequent games during the week, I was thinking, yeah, I think Brazil have found it. And they could have won yesterday. There's lots of criticisms you can make about the play and so on. They could have won. Inside any game, there's hundreds of different games that could have happened. And attacking high and wide right, and then Vini, Martinelli and Matheus Cunha rotating, they created problems for Norway, and one of them led to the penalty. It is, I think, an amazingly bad decision for Bruno to take it. Now, the Brazil coaching staff say this is all based on stats. All right, the best 3 penalty takers are Rafinha, Neymar and Igor Thiago. They're all on the bench. The next one on the line in terms of the stats that they've got is Bruno. However, Bruno's hardly taken a penalty in his life. So the database of stats that they've got is not sufficient to judge his competence for that moment. Now, Vini is not the greatest penalty taker. I've seen him miss them for Brazil. But it should have been his moment. Really should have been. It's when you want your senior attacker to step up. Unless there is a genuine penalty-taking specialist there, it's when you want your senior fella to step up. Now, he wasn't allowed to. That's on the coaching staff. That's one, I think, of the 2 horrendous mistakes that they made yesterday.
Oh, go on. What's the other one then, Tim? You've teased it.
Well, it's easy. It's easy. They lose the game when Neymar comes on the field. It's a horrendous decision. It's an appalling decision. Now, I've watched a lot of him this year. He's not the same player. He's nowhere near the same player. Nowhere near. He doesn't have the balance and the ability that underpins everything else that an S-word player has. I can think of a few S-words for Brazil yesterday, but it is balance. He doesn't have the same mobility. I understand why he took him, because you're in a context where the Brazil crowd, they booed Alisson at the Maracanã in the warm-up game. It's a strange, different, emotional thing, and millions of them have this connection with Neymar. And if you don't take him, then 10 minutes into any match, the crowd there are going to start shouting, Neymar, Neymar. They're going to use that as a stick with which to beat the team. All right, so you bring him inside the tent. He is, I think, a sweet lad. He's not an ego on the loose. He's a sweet lad. The other players are quite happy for him to be there. Fine. You give him a run against Scotland. He had a few minutes against Scotland, and it was obvious. What he looked like against Scotland was a retired player coming on for a charity match. He's just nowhere near the pace. And I thought, yeah, this is Ancelotti being the wise circus master. He's just playing this along. He's not going to use him when it really matters. He might come on maybe at the end of a game that Brazil are winning, or at the end if you think you can get a set piece out of him, a corner or something like that. But bring him on when the game was in the balance halfway through the second half. It killed the side, destroyed the side. And he can't move. So he's got to play up front. He's got to play up top, centre forward. What is the consequence? That Vini Jr. and Endrick, both of them have to move wider and deeper away from the goal. Exactly where you don't want them. You want them close to the goal. They have to move further, but it opened up the side. Up until that point, Norway were able to bring Haaland into the game only with the long punts. And he's so good that he creates danger there. But it's a long punt. He fights with Gabriel, and there's a second ball, and Norway swarm around the second ball. From the point that Neymar comes on, Brazil lose balance. And that's the key word for Ancelotti, balance. They lose balance, and Norway are at last able to progress the ball up the field in a way that they can finally bring Haaland into the game, give him decent service. And he doesn't need very much. No, you give him a little, he does a lot with it. But all of that starts from the moment that Neymar comes on. Brazil lose the game at that moment. I couldn't believe that he was bringing him on halfway through the second half. I just couldn't believe it. It's an idea, frankly, that didn't deserve to work, and it didn't. It cost Brazil the game.
But Tim, what other options do they have? Like, you look at what the options were at the 9. You're starting Matheus Cunha. as your striker during this tournament, which, again, all due respect to Matheus Cunha, that's not a guy that you want starting as your striker. And then the number 10 spot has been a kind of a rotating cast of characters where Gabriel Martinelli's starting there. It's the two key positions for a Brazilian side were up in flux, where you had no choice but to be searching for answers. And at a certain point, you have to see what Neymar has. It just felt like a side that just did not have the quality in two key positions for a Brazilian side.
Yeah, I agree with some of that. It's not a vintage, but you know what Neymar has. It ain't there no more. It's gone. In the race between the athlete and time, there's only ever one winner, and it ain't the athlete. Possibly unless your name's Lionel Messi, but that'll come to an end soon as well. And we've seen this. I mean, the thing that annoys me here about Ancelotti is he broke all of his red lines for Neymar. He said that there were two things that he kept on in the build-up to calling up the squad that he kept on emphasising. Number one, Neymar will have to deserve to go on the back of his performances on the field now. And I've seen a lot of him. And he ducked the more difficult away games. Santos, of his club side, have arguably done better without him. There's just nowhere near. Red line number two, Ancelotti said, I'm not going to take any injured players. And Neymar was carrying an injury. He's only just recently back in training again. So you can't break all of your principles and expect it to work. It didn't deserve to work. And we haven't even got into his antics at the end. I mean, Neymar is a borderline genius, but the career hasn't lived up to the expectations. The expectations are too harsh. The bar is set too high. You're a failure unless you win the Ballon d'Or in the World Cup. That's absurd. That's too high of a barrier. But he could have been far, far more. And every athlete has to learn how to lose. It's part of the game. Part of the game. There is no success without failure somewhere along the line. And Neymar, as I said, I think he's a sweet kid, but he's been hothoused since the age of 8. In his own little world where he is the king and he is the centre of everything. And he can't cope with defeat. And he should have been sent off. Now, that wild kick, which is intentional, he should have been sent off. And he gets involved in another spat then. And then they get the penalty out the blue. And he's spending all of his time trash-talking the goalkeeper, even after he scored. It just doesn't make any sense. You know, you get the ball back on the halfway line and get going and try and use the little few seconds you have to score a second goal. Brazil now can move on without him, and I think despite all of his genius, he is the top goal scorer in their history. It's not a prize you get in a sweetie shop, but I think they'll do well to move on without him.
It's funny because he gets such an incredible reaction when he picks him, and that 4-hour-long telecast they did, being watched by millions of people all over Brazil and around the world. I was in a Brazilian butcher's in South London last night watching the game with about 100 Brazilian fans, and I tell you, Endrick coming off the bench and Neymar coming off the bench were the two biggest reactions they had in the whole game, including going ahead and winning the penalty that should have put them ahead in the first half. The whole thing is that I completely see how this circus has happened. It just doesn't make sense to me that how this whole circus has happened when Carlo Ancelotti is your boss, when he's the guy who should be above all of that, who should be able to rise above the noise and tell everyone, I'm not going to do it your way. So how can he still have a big future with Brazil if there's still talk about him continuing beyond this when he can't even make the decision to not play a guy who clearly isn't fit enough to play?
He's on a fat 4-year contract. Now, conspiracy theorists will tell you that he got that contract and Neymar was picked for the World Cup, and those two things might not be entirely coincidental. Now, I find it hard to believe that Ancelotti would bow to that kind of pressure. But anyway, where are we now? Now we're in a situation where he's going to get criticism and pressure, the like of which he's never had in his life. It will test even his Zen-like calm. And what they need is a complete reboot. And he took an ageing squad to the World Cup. It's one of the oldest squads there, I think. There aren't too many of those who turned out yesterday who'll still be around in 4 years' time. There's still terrific talent there. And Estevão, the injury to Estevão, I think, was the first disaster that Brazil faced. But the fascinating question that I find is, in his career so far, he's never been the man for the big ideas reboot. He's been the man who comes along, who sees, what have I got? How do I get the best out of this? Yeah, a little tweak here and a little tweak there and a raised eyebrow here. So he's been a little bit like the first aid guy who's come along with a Band-Aid, when I think what Brazil really need is a surgeon. Now, can he be that surgeon? Is he up to? He's been very happy in the job up until now. I think he's enjoyed himself hugely. Possibly not enjoying today quite as much. Possibly the last big task of his career. Does he want to sit down and do this long-term planning ideas thing, or is he only? That's a big only, isn't it? Is he principally a pragmatist who will go with what he's got? Because I think at this stage, Brazil need much, much more than a pragmatist who will go with what he's got. They've got a very light 4 years coming up. There's a Copa America in 2 years' time. But World Cup qualification for the next one is an absolute doddle, given the fact that Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay already qualify as quite bizarre co-hosts in this tournament. So World Cup qualification is not going to be very, very competitive. So there is time and breathing space to go back to the drawing board and start from scratch. But is he the man to do that?
Yeah, Phil, real quick. Yeah, there's a loaded question if ever I've heard one, Tim. Not going to lie.
I want to go back before we end this. It's been a tremendous segment talking about this. I want to go back to your sentiment on Neymar, because I've always compared Neymar, to use an NBA analogy, he's like the Allen Iverson of global football. This cultural phenomenon that, again, maybe didn't live up to all of the hypes and expectations, but you look at this next generation, the Lamine Yamals, the Desiree Doués, they clearly have been influenced and inspired by him. How do you take the totality of that, where maybe he doesn't have, the accolades that a Messi and a Ronaldo have, but has this cultural influence? How do you take into totality the Neymar legacy?
Yeah, I have to claim a little bit, to borrow from Steve Martin. Sorry, new thing, we're closed. The way that so much football is consumed now is quite baffling to someone of me and my generation, because there is so much more focus on the star individual. And there are people who, rather than follow teams, which is certainly the way that me and I think Will got into football, are following the key individuals. One thing which I think is absolutely fascinating about this campaign, we've still got, at least for another 24 hours plus, we've got a couple of South American sides still in there. And one of them, the one that's probably exceeded expectations most, is Colombia. How have Colombia done that? They've stepped off this train of the service, the total veneration and indulgence of the star individual, because James Rodriguez, he still plays, but he's become much, much less important, and he got taken off at half-time in the last game against Ghana. There's questions there that he might have been a little bit under the weather with some kind of flu or fever, but that was in the camp. It wasn't only him. And the coach made it very clear, Nestor Lorenzo, I took him off for tactical reasons. The team was going to be better without him in the second half. The kind of call which goes against the grain of what's happening in world football at the moment. Neymar is Brazil's all-time top goal scorer. Now that's a fabulous achievement, and it's going to take people a long, long time to overtake that. I think that record is safe for the next, probably for the next 20 years. It's hard to see anyone getting close to that for a long time. But with Brazil, he won the Confederations Cup, which is one of those competitions that only Brazil took seriously, and he won the Olympics, which is a glorified under-23. He hasn't even won a Copa America with Brazil. Won the Libertadores with Santos. He was fantastic. Won the Champions League with Barcelona, and that was fantastic. But it was in Uncle Leo's house. One of the decisions that almost defines his career is the option to go to Paris Saint-Germain. Now I see some nobility in that. He wanted to be king of the hill. He wanted to break out of Don Corleone's and start his own family. At Paris Saint-Germain, and there were fabulous moments. He played some incredible football with Paris Saint-Germain, but the big moment, remember that Champions League final against Bayern Munich? It was a strange game because there were still no fans. It was still the COVID thing, and his game absolutely collapsed from the point that Bayern scored the match-winning goal. After that, he couldn't do the simple things. So one of the lessons I think that people can take from this is you've got to be prepared to lose. You have to know how to cope with defeat. I think that's one legacy of the Neymar career. Were it not for the injuries and flaws there, I think, in his development as an athlete, that natural talent and the game intelligence would have achieved far, far, far more. So the lesson of this, I think, for future generations is that talent on its own is never enough.
I could listen to Tim talk about this literally all day long. There's a great book in this, I'm sure, at some point as well. The wonderful Tim Vickery joining us on the S Word. Thank you very much, Tim, as always.
Incredible.
Wonderful stuff from you. We go from one member of broadcasting royalty to another as we round off the show with some Adrian Durham. We'll talk about Mexico last night. And we're going to talk some Balogun as well, I reckon, with him. Let's get that up next here on the S Word, sponsored by Calci.
Absolute garbage.
From the touchline to the terraces,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
presents
the S Word.
Get your full-on football fix from across the football galaxy.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Now he's standing almost near his post. He's showing Kane one side of the goal. Will it be a stuttering run-up from Kane? Harry, your country needs you here. You've got to put this away. Right-footed, he has! He sent the keeper the right way, but he's blasted it past him with pace. Into the bottom left-hand corner. England lead by 3-1. And the 2-goal cushion is back intact. Now can the 10 hang on?
Did Master just turn his camera off in disgust at having to listen to Harry Kane's what turned out to be the winning penalty? Harry, your country needs you. Yes, Jim Proudfoot absolutely loved that. Will Gavin, Master Tez Fancy and the S word. We're operating on maybe 3 hours sleep between us. We are celebrating a brilliant England win in Mexico. We are
You must have done 2 hours and 45 minutes of sleep.
with our Brazilian brethren going out of the tournament and of course building up to USMNT against Belgium. But we need to get back to Mexico City. We need to get back to our commentary team because the wonderful Adrian Durham joins us now on the show. Yes, come on, Durham.
Come on. Bring it on.
Yes, Adrian, look. I'm enjoying the camera you're going.
Where are you? Where are you?
I'm right outside the Mexico City Cathedral. The thing behind me is actually Stuart Pearce, the former England captain, a World Cup semi-finalist. We had such a wild night celebrating. That's what he looks like. And he can't speak at the moment. But every England fan who was at the Azteca last night, what a night. It's put right so many years of wrong from that stadium. It's so memorable. It was just a pure joy. And I've known our commentator, Jim Proudfoot, for well over 30 years. And we were hugging each other on the way out last night saying, this is what it's all about. This is the best night of our lives. And it was just sensationally brilliant. You know what I'm talking about, Will.
Well, so we listened to your build, particularly when the lightning delay came in. I was around at producer Sam's watching the game after watching the Brazil game out, and we put the commentary on, and the build-up was so superb and so good. But I listened to the talkSPORT Daily on the train in today, and I heard the commentary, and I heard that moment from Jim, Harry, your country needs you. And I'm not going to lie, it got a little bit dusty on that train. I like, it's only the round of 16, but that felt like a monumentous moment as an England fan. Like, as someone who's followed them home and away, where does that rank for you in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, I've never known anybody chopping onions on a train before, so fair play for that. But yeah, and thanks for the invite, Sam and Will. I'll remember that. Cheers. I actually had somewhere else to go, so no worries on that front. This is number one. I know this might sound crazy. Listen, when it comes to the England men's national team, this is the number one. Look, I was at both Euro successes for the women, and both of those rank way above. I don't mind saying that at all. I know some people might not be at one with that, but I absolutely love both of them, and truly memorable occasions. But in terms of the men's team, there's been a lot of heroic failures. There's been a lot of outright failures. That last night was absolutely magnificent. And I'll tell you why. It was because it's the World Cup. It was in an incredible stadium where we've got a lot of bad history. And also, it was because there was a lot of quality in it. Some brilliant English players came to the fore. I thought Jude Bellingham, I've given him 10 out of 10 in the player ratings. We're so lucky to have him. He's so fantastic. There was a lot of quality. And then after that, there was a fantastic defensive rearguard action to keep Mexico out, and they were in tears at the end, and I'm here for it.
we talked a lot about this back line, but I mean, what can you say about Thomas Tuchel and the job he did in managing this match with all the different variables that came his way, from the delay to obviously the red card, the different penalties? How would you rate what Thomas Tuchel was able to do to see this game out?
I think what you may have spotted back there, but we saw for the full 100 minutes plus, was Thomas Tuchel being as passionate on the touchline as any English manager we've ever had. This is a guy who genuinely cares about what he's doing. Now, you might say it's his job and he cares about that and he wants that reputation. I'm fine with that, but absolutely cares for his players, no question. So, yeah, he was 9, bordering on 10 out of 10 last night. He was fantastic, and he made a decision, a bold decision, a decision that I think that Gareth Southgate would have been slaughtered for, but it worked for Thomas Tuchel. Now, he can't do that against France. If he says to France, can you score against us, I'm going to guess that they will. So it was the right thing, right time, right opponents, and they got through.
I mean, just one shot on target after the penalty. Dan Burn comes off the bench, has 6 clearances, 2 blocks, just unbelievable. Like, all those people who we question marked, moving Konsa to right back. But, I mean, you kind of answered this with the France thing, right? I feel like Mexico maybe didn't do enough in that last 30 minutes. And I still sit here and go, I don't know, I'm trying to be confident. I'm trying to say to myself, this is the best I've ever felt about us going all the way in a World Cup.
Trying? You said in the start of the segment, the start of the show. What are you talking about here?
I think it is the best I've ever felt about us going all the way. And yet, come on, how confident are you feeling right now, Aid?
Well, no, I haven't seen France at their best in this tournament. They're better than us. It's as simple as that. But we all know that in a tournament like this, over 90 minutes, anything can happen. And if England get it right, get a bit of a break as well, maybe, then they might be able to do France if they go all the way. Right now, I'm worried about Erling Haaland and nothing else. And even their keeper was brilliant yesterday against Brazil, Norway. So there's a lot to contend with there. It's no foregone conclusion that England are semi-finalists. Far from it. He's an absolute goal machine. I worry who he's going to be up against when we play them on Saturday in Miami. And if it is John Stones at centre-back was being touted around last night because he knows him. Well, Erling Haaland knows John Stones as well. So, look, England can go all the way. They've shown that last night. Whether they will or not is a different matter because France have been absolutely brilliant. They're the best team in the world, France. So I don't think anybody would question that. 90 minutes, anything can happen.
At this point, beating Mexico in Stadium Azteca is, when we talk about the expectations and whether this run is a success or not, what else needs to happen at this point? Because I feel like that match in itself was a dignifying point in terms of everything that has come, whether it's the roster, whether it's Thomas Tuchel, whether it's a culmination of just a belief among English fans. Can we say it's a success right now, or is there more to be had to fully define this run as a success?
Yeah, if you say it's a success right now, you are redrawing what the expectations were from the beginning. And the expectations when he got the job were to win a trophy. So you're absolutely bang on. It was a successful night. If they go out in the quarterfinals to Norway, it's not a successful tournament. It's just a tournament that's had a really amazing night in the Azteca. So I think you're right to keep our feet on the ground. Thank you very much for that.
I'm doing my best as an American. You know, we keep our toes. All 10 toes are planted right now. You know, in the event, you know, a red card gets, you know, delayed, and, you know, we happen to have our striker come back. You know, it's, you know, things can happen in this World Cup as we come to find out.
Yeah, no, let me just say something on that. Okay, because a lot of stuff has been said about that. First of all, I'm amazed that Mauricio Pochettino is getting himself into such a murky place in the world of football. Some will feel sorry for him. He's a grown adult. He can make decisions for himself. And what he should do is just leave Balogun out of the next game. What you should also be forced to do is have Donald Trump in goal for the next game.
It is an interesting thing, right? We had a bunch of fans, you know, this show is aimed at the US, and we have a bunch of US fans who do watch us and comment and everything else. And a bunch of them came on today and said, I don't want an asterisk next to this tournament. I don't want an asterisk next to this performance. I'd rather we didn't play Balogun. I think we can beat Belgium without them. I mean, there's part of me that doesn't believe that is 100% true, but I think if you'd want to start him in this game, when you've got the Belgium FA now appealing it, being given the right to, and you've got all the questions of FIFA and everything else going on, I'm not going to say it's the honourable thing to do, but it really helps remove some big question marks.
Yeah, Pochettino has to do the right thing here. He knows deep down what it is. He shouldn't care how well or otherwise it goes down with the White House. That really shouldn't matter when it comes to what's right and proper in football. So I think this is actually a massive moment. Who knew that a former Arsenal trainee, Flo Balogun, would have such a massive impact going forward on global football and how it's run? But this could be the tipping point. I don't just see it as Infantino going. I see it as FIFA ceasing to exist in the current way it exists. I think European bodies, South American bodies, other football federations around the world may well look at it and say, hang on a minute, we can do this a whole lot better than Infantino's doing it.
I mean, you know, in 2024 Euros, Jude Bellingham was supposed to be suspended, but, you know, they got delayed. So, you know, it just falls in line. You know, the same nation that, you know, 1966, a phantom goal that you guys won as a host nation. You know, these things happen. These things happen in the World Cup. They happen in FIFA, Durham. Like, and your nation is more than any. They understand what happens on these international competitions. Things just happen, you know. And Balogun's free. He's gonna play.
I'm up for taking away that goal that might have. Well, I thought it was miles over the line, but I'm up for taking that away, and we only win 3-2. I'm cool with that. Actually, let me just be serious here for a second. And I'm serious with everything I've said before, but I know you're on the wind-up here. There is a serious point. I have actually loved the three host nations' contribution to this World Cup. Mexico doing what they did in the group stage in front of their own fans, I think, was sensational. And the emotion those players last night when they went out was real. They were in tears. Canada, I just love the way Jesse Marsch winds you lot up. But he got them through. He got them through a knockout game as well. You've got to admire the man, even if you dislike him intensely. However, USA, I think that this has reawakened something massive in the USA about soccer/football. This World Cup has done that. I think there's a real connection between the USA fans and the USA men's national team. The kind of connection they've got with the USA women's national team. And I think I'm here for this. So this has kind of killed it a little bit for me, and I didn't need to do this. I think Donald Trump just doesn't understand football, so shouldn't have got involved. But Pochettino allowing this to happen on his watch, I think it's damaging to his reputation.
Adrian, wonderful stuff from you. Thank you so much for joining us live from Mexico City. We always appreciate you, sir. And it's a huge question.
Thank you so much.
Right? Like, whatever happens tonight, we'll be looking back on this as being one of the great nights in US football. We'll be looking back on whether this tournament was a huge success and everything else. There is a bit of yesterday where maybe you've been the hero and you've lived long enough to see yourself become the villain. How are the USA going to react if they are not the darlings, if they are not the favourites at this point? Because I know Americans, I know you. I think that's only going to stoke the fires even more, brother.
Listen, we're going to win without Balogun. We're going to win with Balogun. I'm about to go enjoy some Belgian waffles as soon as we sign off here. USA all the way, baby. Come on.
I appreciate you, sir. Wonderful stuff from you out in Seattle. Us here in London. We're going to go get some sleep. Then we're going to watch 2 cracking games tonight and react to them all tomorrow, live from 8 a.m. Eastern on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. We're on Tubi, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. So thank you for checking out the S Word, sponsored by
S Word with Will Gavin and Master Tesfacion from talkSPORT.